Welcome to Biggest Geekus. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe.
It's episode 20 of our podcast, and the date is January 19th, 2021.
Episode 20.
Yeah, baby, that's pretty sweet. I'm kind of pumped. 20 episodes. We knocked them out at a reasonable time once we got started. I mean, our first podcast was near the end of last year, right? When did we start? November? Anyway, it's good. 20 is cool.
When was the last one?
No, our first podcast.
Oh, no. We started, so we started recording, but we didn't actually put anything out for a while. So as far as out on the interwebs, but when we recorded, we started recording in February or March of last year, but we didn't actually put anything out on Anchor until I can't remember when. It was in the summer.
And then we have been beasts. Unbelievable. Once we got them posted, we're practically unstoppable now.
Once a week.
Yeah. So this episode was originally a different plan. We had a guest we were going to have. We're going to have to delay. We had some issues, technical difficulties. And so we're going to try something a little off the cuff today. Our buddy Glenn Hallstrom at was it Radio Grognard? We had told him,
Your buddy.
He's my buddy.
Always says he only ever says your name and his buddy.
Would you mean to tell him? Would you like? Should I correct that, Joe?
No. We will let it stand as is.
I love what he says. He's like,
he is your buddy,
Nichols.
and it's Randy Nichols and those guys.
Yeah, baby. I told you I'm the talent. You got to believe, Joe.
I am those guys.
You are those guys. That's all right, though, Glenn. I love it, man. The check is in the mail. So anyway, we talked about me and Joe both have been kind of looking back at the old school games we used to play, and the OSR has always been kind of intriguing, and we've been threatening to do an episode on the OSR, and that's not really this one. Because not really. Because what we're doing is we're just going to go kind of by the seat of our pants tonight and ask some questions about the OSR and comments. We're going to make statements that could be completely wrong. And maybe someone who's listening could say, no, that's not really the way we see the OSR. I know I listened to a couple of OSR podcasts, Tinkar's Tavern. I think John Allen's pretty OSR-ish on Red Dice.
Yeah, he likes BS Essentials, I think.
Yeah,
BX Essentials is what I believe he is running a campaign in.
Yeah, he's got kind of a tundra. He's got a northern, let's call it storms and snow or something. I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. It's old school Essentials from Exalted Funeral, and it's basically a BX clone. But we're going to give some comments of the way we've seen the OSR, our interpretation, that is what it seems like people are about. And some could be off, and it's going to be biased at times. Good, bad. Yes, because I have some thoughts about the OSR that sometimes I think is not so great, but mostly I like it, though.
No, I didn't like the biased word. I think that what we're going to end up saying tonight is going to be fact. And if it's not, reality will change to make it so.
I like the way you think, but we'll see how this goes. We may come back. Please, if you're an OSR player and you really like this stuff, feel free to comment and say, hey guys, you got it backwards, and we'll say no, because we really meant to say what you said. So no, just comment. It'll be cool. Dude, I gamed this last week.
I'm jealous.
You should be, because it was pretty cool. The Zoom thing worked out well. We got to play a game. The worst part of it was I kind of screwed the adventure. I did a Groundhog Day adventure.
Oh.
So they had one fight.
Over and over again?
Well, we did it twice, and then I said we're gonna narratively pass through it. And I really didn't do a good job on it. I thought it was going to be obvious. I don't want to give anything away because I may run other groups through it. I thought would be obvious to do something, to see this clue that I had, this beautiful clue I had all planned. And so that didn't happen, and they were just like running all over the place like chickens with their head cut off, and we're getting really frustrated. So eventually I had to kind of give it away. And I should use the three clue rule, but I decided on the one clue rule.
Right. So I was just getting ready to chide you on that. I know we both have listened to that episode of Mr. Sir Grognard, who said you should have 3, not just 1.
Yes. And I believe he got that from the interwebs, because I think that's kind of a standard practice, which I failed on.
Yes.
We did have fun. My wife played. Amy and Trent.
Well, that's cool. She hasn't played in a while.
No, and Kelly and Tim played. We had a great time. We used Zoom. Each couple used one camera on a computer, and it worked fine. We had fun, had some good fights, very good role playing, and played a lot more than I thought. We thought we'd be like, jabbering. I think we role played, was into the game from about 7 to 11:30, and had about a 15-minute break, and we were into it.
That's cool.
I was kind of shocked. I expected it to be more, jabber. But anyway, still fun. But the Dungeon Master didn't hold up his end of the bargain at the end. It was a little disappointing because I screwed them.
You all had fun?
We had fun.
Okay, then. That's really all that counts.
Well, I'm glad. Gaming.
I've spoken.
You have spoken. If Joe says it, it was fine. My game was perfect. Notice a couple things. The D&D TV show is in the works. What do you think? Dude, this is by the guy that did John Wick.
Okay. I've seen John Wick.
It was very good.
Yes.
But
I'm going to force myself. I'm going to, as the TV show that I've seen only bits and pieces of, I'm going to curb my enthusiasm.
Now, there is a reason for you to do that, because you noticed a couple of links that I put in the outline.
Yes.
Did you look at the Hollywood Reporter one?
Oh, hold on. No, I've because the whole John Wick thing I knew about before you had this in the outline, so I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't because I thought I knew it all.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't.
It says, let me read part of this for you. And I heard someone read this on a different episode. On this particular website, the Hollywood Reporter, Dungeons and Dragons series in the works with John Wick writer exclusive. Dragons, orcs, and elves, oh my. Even as Paramount and Hasbro's film entertainment studio, E1, are in the casting stages of a live-action D&D film, Hasbro/E1 is also laying the groundwork for a television series based on the fantasy role-playing game. Derek Kolstad, the creator and writer behind the John Wick franchise, has been tapped to pen and develop a pitch for live action based on Dungeons and Dragons universe. Affectionately referred to by its fans as D&D, the game is known for its wars, treasure hunts, campaigns, camaraderie, and reversals of fortune, all in a setting that combines humans, elves, orcs, and hundreds of other fantastical creatures. The game famously uses multi-sided dice in gameplay to further the imaginary story and is overseen by a host known as the Dungeon Master. Launched in 1974, talks about a few other things, but that's kind of the...
So it's clear that this person has no idea what D&D is.
I mean, I think it was on Tinkar's Tavern. He was like, wars? What do you mean wars? Then, of course, I think it was Tinker. It was either Tinker and Grognard, because Glenn does a bi-weekly episode with Eric now, a new live stream. Tinkar's like live stream with a lot of folks, and I do like them. They're good. And I think this came up, and some of the folks watching them live was like, War of the Lance and Greyhawk Wars and From the Ashes. And yeah, but if someone says, what's D&D, the first thing out of my mouth is not wars.
Right. And what do you mean Greyhawk Wars?
There was a box set called the Greyhawk Wars when they changed.
I forgot about that.
And Out of the Ashes, it changed sort of the landscape and some of the political situations after that had to do with Vecna and either Vecna or who's the little Ius.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I use a demigod. Well, he's a demigod. Well, yeah, he's even referred to as a Cambion, but he was basically a demigod in most of first edition, I think. But I just found it weird that they mentioned that. It was a strange turn of phrase and sounds like someone
reversals of fortune. I think this guy just maybe watched an actual play a couple of times and said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, he mentions that some too about actual play and the more and more popular it's getting and stuff like that, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, The only reason I'm kind of excited is, like I said before, I think a TV series would be better than a movie, like an hour weekly or.
Yeah, like with the article we were discussing in our last episode, that's what that was suggesting. I agree. Mainly because you can get good enough production value in a TV show as long as the people involved are serious about it, and you can get good enough writing, and you can get more into it instead of trying to do a rush job like all the other D&D movies were.
Yeah.
Although we all want to forget that they exist.
Yeah, they were pretty painful to watch. I mean, I tried my best to like that first one, but it was just, when that beholder was like a watchdog, I was kind of like, give me a break. That was so insane.
And I really kind of don't care that Chris Pine is in it.
I like Chris Pine. I liked him as Captain Kirk. He was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I want to skip a couple of the news things because I haven't spent enough time to have comments on them. So if that's okay, I'm kind of going to skip to 3. Did you have a comment on the 2 or 3 or 2 or 4?
Well, I don't know. The Savage Pathfinder one didn't really have anything interesting in it that I saw.
No, but it launched today. Yeah, It launches today, bro. 19. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You need your $300, Joe, to get the full Monty. You going to do it?
Absolutely not.
Oh, Joseph, come on.
I don't.
$300 alone. I got to spend $300 alone.
Yep.
Oh man.
Well, this is the thing.
I might do it.
Savage Pathfinder is Savage Worlds fantasy. What difference does it make, except from a setting point of view, of using Pathfinder? I don't know what other rules you need.
They may add magic items or give magic items a different spin so you can have more of them. I don't know. Maybe they'll make it more epic. Higher ranks, you think? Probably not.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I feel like it can't be vanilla Savage Worlds fantasy if it's Pathfinder. If they're trying to emulate the Pathfinder Galarian world, that's pretty magic rich.
Yeah. It is. I agree.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty excited, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to back it. My first gut feeling was I'm going all the way in, but then I'm with you. I think there's a little bit of a pause there. It may not be as good as we hope, but I kind of think it'll be pretty good, though. I don't think it's going to suck.
Oh, probably not.
Yeah. So, and then that's really all I wanted to talk about as far as the gaming news goes.
Oh, you wanted to skip down to 4, how to role play.
Well, actually, the truth was on that one, I didn't get to read that. That was just one that looked good. I've been very remiss today in getting my reading done.
Holy crap, dude! And you're the one who came up with the news.
I know. I thought it looked good. That's what I'm talking about.
Interesting articles that I didn't read.
And here's why, because I spent so much time on what our previous topic was. We were talking to do 5e, and I read tons about bounded accuracy and stuff like that, and then I forgot those things. So I do apologize. I'm not fully prepared. Did you get to read it?
No, because I worked late.
That's right. So that's what I'm saying. I was trying to do that smoothly, but Joe had to make me look dumb. So always count for Joe, making me look like a goofball.
I already don't like the article.
Uh-oh.
It has don't compare yourself with the big names. There are no big names in role playing as a role player. Who cares? They're talking about Critical Role, of course.
Oh, right. That might be a whole topic.
Big names. Whatever.
Dude, they make money, so they're big.
Well, I'm sure that they're nice folks. I never watch it because actual plays make me sleepy. I understand he's a good voiceover actor, but there's another guy that I saw compared to him.
Yeah.
People were saying this guy is really good. He's who's on Critical Role. That doesn't have anything on him as far as acting goes. And I'm like, okay, fine. We're not acting.
Right. And that's going to be a topic, I think, at some point. We're going to talk about what that's supposed to mean. acting. Are you acting when you're role playing? I don't know. I don't think everybody does. I think some people take it a little more serious than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, that's cool. That's just not what I prefer. I mean, I maybe a little bit. I probably throw in a little RP acting, just tiny bit now and again.
Yeah. I think. Well, you've seen me. When I'm in the zone, I can get way into it. I like a little acting amongst my friends, but it's really low key. It's nothing like what you see on Critical Role, I would imagine. So
I only can imagine because I've never watched it.
Right. So yeah, we'll get back to
maybe someone needs to take my geek cred away because that's apparently
in the grand scheme of things, Critical Role's too new, and it's kind of its own thing. Talked a little bit with our friends Amy and Trent, and I did some research too. They swear it's not scripted. It's not a scripted thing, and online they swear it's not scripted. They're just that good. So, but I can't say because I've not watched it, so I don't know what that means by saying they're that good.
Yeah, the reality TV shows say the same thing.
Oh, you question it. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You question whether it's scripted, huh? Okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe one day we'll talk about that. I believe we have a friend that wants to discuss that very idea or something tangent to that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. Time for the big topic today. We decided that, again, I want to talk about OSR. And so I quickly found a definition online. Old school revival or old school renaissance. That's what OSR stands for usually. It is a movement among players of tabletop role-playing games, especially Dungeons and Dragons, that draws inspirations from the earliest days of tabletop RPGs in the 70s, though I have heard some folks say anything that is pre-WotC is considered OSR.
I believe that. At least I believe that point of view because I remember hearing about it when third edition came out.
And that's when it happened.
Right. So I remember hearing about OSR
and
Osric. I said, what's that? And old school Renaissance. I didn't get that. I thought it was kind of weird. And when people said they don't like the new game, I was like, well, they got to be a bunch of weirdos. How can you not like third edition?
Oh, I know. He loved it, dude. It was like, what? Are you insane? Third edition is the be-all, end-all of Dungeons and Dragons. So, but yeah, at least we thought that in 1999, 2000. And it's kind of funny they would call it old school if you were referencing first or second edition especially, because it was barely old.
Right.
I mean, third edition.
At that point, what, 10 years?
Yeah, I know what I'm saying is in 2000, let's say, I think 99 is when third came out. And
99. Oh.
I believe so, or 2000.
Yeah,
and so
that's 25 years.
But a year or two before, you're playing second. How old is it?
Yeah,
I mean, is it
true.
ancient? But I mean, I think if you go to the 70s though, if you're playing a clone, which there's lots of clones of, that's a lot of what people do. They use clones of the old games. And you're playing. Yeah, the retro clones, things like Labyrinth Lord and what else we got? Sword and Wizardry.
Yeah.
And so I think they all, and each one of them, there's bunches of them. I've not done deep research, but each one is kind of a clone of either, say, BX D&D, which would be like, the Mold Bay or maybe the Menser. And then you got some that are truly clones of OD&D with Arneson and Gygax or first edition. I think For Gold and Glory is a retro clone of second edition. I have that PDF.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's a retro clone, a single bound volume with all the stuff in it. And then Osric is definitely a retro clone of 1E, but that's all considered OSR. And so what I wanted to talk about is from our little bit of exploration, and I think I've motivated Joe because he sent me a few texts this week to start looking into OSR a little bit and what makes a game OSR. And this is our musings. This is what we've seen, what we believe. And I do think it does have to have sort of I think it has a focus on rulings, not rules.
Yeah, I've heard that mantra on a few of the OSR podcasts that I've listened to. I don't listen to a lot of them. The ones that we talk about on here, I listen to regularly. Red Dice Diaries and Radio Grognard. Rulings versus Rules is kind of the watch. I don't want to say watchword because that's more than one word, but it's a mantra that's used frequently. And I get it. You don't want to have that. That was, as much as we liked third edition, at some point we kind of realized there was too many rules. I think. Well, I know you said it before I thought it.
My personal experience was this. I mean, to be honest with you, I felt almost handcuffed by the rules, which was crazy. I mean, you know what kind of evil DM I was? I was like, I don't like it. We're not doing it. This is how I do it. And I didn't care what you guys thought, which is not really fair, but I was like that back in the day. This is how we're doing it at my table. And when I got to third edition, for some reason, I got a lot of new players, an influx of new players. I'd recently moved to Michigan. And I think I told you this before. I felt they kind of knew the rules better than me, so I was feeling beholden to them. And I found myself, the way the rules are written, even though they still had the rule 0, which is do whatever you want at your table, which you should anyway. I mean, that's just how you can. No one can. They don't need to write it. You do whatever you want anyway. But I felt like I need to use every rule, attacks of opportunity, 5-foot steps. And I was resistant at first, but I could tell the game wasn't working like intended at all. And then I found myself handcuffed. I thought third edition, halfway through, I was like, they made this almost trying to take the DM out of the equation. And I think OSR wants to bring the DM back, in terms of giving more power to the DM. And I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just a style choice that you like to play in.
Right. And and I get that. I don't know how much early on that was one of the things about the DM. But definitely, I think from hearing from these different podcasts, most OSR folks like few rules, and they like simple. On the Red Dice Diaries, before he moved it from Anchor, I can't remember. I saw it the other day what he uses now, but I can't remember.
SpeakPipe.
No, that's just for the voice.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's not the host.
Oh, okay.
The host is something else. Pod Sprout or something like that. Anyway,
whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, when he was still on Anchor, it's all the episodes are still there, but one of the older episodes from Anchor, he had a couple of his online gaming crew would come on with him, and this one guy is always teasing the OSR folks about the rules part.
Right.
And it's pretty funny. I don't know if you heard any of those, but
no. Are these older episodes?
Yeah, they're not real old.
Right.
But pre, back in his Anchor days, and he's really fun. He's real funny. He likes to tease, and you can tell it's all good natured, and about the simple rules, few rules.
Right.
And I also remember listening to, I can't remember the name of the podcast, these 2 or 3 guys who would talk about structure of games, and the game has to have at least one rule. And they always talk very technical and stuff like that, talk about story beats all the time, and they're more into the indie games. And a lot of the indie games have few rules too. It's kind of but they're not old school, because I think the other thing that differentiates old school is they don't have many of the indie bits, especially like the narrative control stuff.
Oh yeah, and the game,
games have.
yeah, and the game is definitely about delving into crazy dungeons, getting treasure, killing monsters, taking their stuff, and that's kind of the story. And you're adventurers. You're not always heroes. But one comment about the OSR, which is funny, especially if we consider it pre-1990 or pre-WotC D&D, you can't say first edition had few rules.
No,
That's a rule. And second edition was rule. They're all rules heavy.
I would think so.
We didn't even use weapon speed. We didn't use spellcasting segments. We tried it, and that sucked beyond belief. I mean, we didn't use much of nothing.
The weapons versus armor.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Talk about stupid.
Well, I mean, okay, maybe in a real melee it matters. Maybe a mace is more effective against plate mail than a sword, but who's got time for that crap at the table? I don't.
How did they figure out the numbers? Did they take did they put like pigs in armor and then, test out the different weapons? Say, yeah, that looks like probably deflected, that much. Switch out the pig. It's dead now. Time for a pig roast.
Well, I mean, they tried to be simulationists more, thought they were, and They came from a wargaming route. So I'm sure in war games you spend time thinking about that and reading up on weaponry. And, Gygax had the polearm section in the player's handbook, for God's sake.
Yeah.
A Bill Gizarm and a Becta Corbin and whatever the heck those things were, right?
Right.
So, but
long sticks with fiddly bits at one end that you didn't want sticking in you.
Yeah, long sticks with pointy parts. Don't let them hit you with the pointy part.
No.
Yeah, so speaking on that with the types of – so with old school, am I using the word correct? What does ethos mean? That sounds like something that should fit here. Is there an ethos to old school? Ethos is a word. What does that mean? I'm looking that up.
Look it up.
The character spirit of culture, the character spirit of a culture, era, or community as manifested in its beliefs. Oh, okay. Yeah, there was definitely an ethos. I thought I had the word right.
Yeah. What we were just saying is part of that ethos.
Yeah.
Rulings, not rules, or whatever it's stated.
Yeah, and it's not about one thing on Stack Exchange said it's not about acting. It's an adventure game with adventurers delving in weird places, finding creepy crawly things, odd magical items, and hordes of gold. Sometimes gonzo bits and maybe a little sci-fi thrown in, kind of the appendix N in the old DMG, those kind of adventures and stories.
Right, right.
Your
had all the inspiring literature. Is that what appendix N was?
Mm-hmm. Now, I've always thought this too. When I listen to some Glenn at Grognard and Eric at Tinker's Tavern, a lot of the old school guys, which is funny that I actually found myself listening in the last year. I've gravitated to fans of old school, even though I'm not playing it. And I can't say, I know my nostalgia bug has bit me since I went to Gen Con 50. I can't seem to break it. I wonder sometimes if I'm drawn to that because I really want to go back and play that game, or if I just want to go back and capture the feel of that era.
Maybe it's a little of both. I mean, I know I've gravitated toward them more because they're not as woke as as all the modern game podcasts. They're all just they are so woke school. I mean, woke religion, church, whatever you want to call it. It just turns me off.
Me too.
And all the OSR folks talk about is the game. They might be woke.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you are, but I don't want to hear it when I'm wanting to listen to stuff about RPGs. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I was gung-ho about us doing this, is because I was tired of not being able to find a podcast that didn't have woke crap all in it.
Now, to be fair, we kind of we beat woke stuff to death, so we're anti-woke, and someone can say, I don't like anti. Okay, that's cool. Don't listen to us. It's fine. And that's fair. It's a fair call. Yeah. But part of it's because we're tired of it.
Yeah.
That's why we speak about it. We're just sick of it. And there are some podcasts that I no longer listen to because of that. There's a couple that are just on the edge that I listen to, but sometimes I'm just like, I can't take it I don't know if I can take it anymore. But old school.
And you don't see it in the games either. The OSR games themselves. You don't see any of that because they get down to the game, the light rules that they usually have. They emulate the old the old rules. They have their little spin on it, and they don't care about the other stuff because, one, they want to keep the production down to a minimum and cost to a minimum. A lot of them are free. So you can't put all that stuff in there and increase the page count and all the other stuff. OSR seems to be that's one thing that draws, is because it doesn't concern itself with modern social ills.
True. And you I think you alluded to this too. They do tend to be cheaper products.
Yes, on the whole.
Not always. I mean, Old School Essentials is a pretty expensive, pretty standard price. And I thought about getting it because the dude, I've heard him interviewed. He seems pretty cool. I think he's a British guy. And is it Necrotic Gnome? I think that's his company. And it's basically a BX clone. And he's recently done a Kickstarter to advance it a little further in levels. And they just they tend to make stuff a little, and it's kind of a DIY too. I mean, they encourage do it yourself. Their community seems to get pumped if someone comes up with something new that's their own little thing. Look, I have this new version of D&D. What's the one? Oh, not Old School Essentials. There's another one that I hear on Gaming and BS that the guy.
Dungeons?
No, it's I can't think of the game. I've got it somewhere in my hard drive, and it's because the basic one is free, and it's like he made it. It's like 40 pages, and they kind of applaud people. Oh, you just made a super small game, and it's got the feel of D&D, and less rules, and we can just make more calls, and I think they push the whole playing the game shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Right, and I agree with that. Even that's one of the things that I really agreed with John Allen Large on Red Dice. Is he had a podcast about that, and he brought it up a couple of times in other podcasts that I heard, where he was like, yeah, the books are nice and they're well made and all that, but not everybody has $50-$60, and I've even said that $50-$60
right.
to lay down for a book every time someone puts out something new. $50-$60. Why do you need all this fantastic art? I remember when third edition came out, and prior to third edition, the art was kind of really hit and miss. And I think once WotC got the property, they upped the game, and we're all like, well, that's pretty cool. It's nice having some interesting art in the book. Mm-hmm. It's not essential, but it's nice. But it does drive up the price.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt, dude. I mean, the art is. I mean, our buddy Patrick. I mean, he got to looking in that, and he was like, "Oh my God, hire artists kind of pricey," right. And it's okay because they got to get paid too. I get it.
It's labor intensive.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're lifting heavy things, but it's time consuming, and it is.
And it's a skill.
Work.
It's a skill that I can't do. Right. So I got to pay for that. Yeah, I understand. I think, and I got a pretty good job, making decent money, so I tend to splurge. I got a bunch of crap I don't need, but I mean, I do like books that look shiny and new and cool. I mean, holy crap, look at this thing. Well, you have a version of this, don't you? Arts and Arcana?
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Yeah, so I splurged for the stupid big thing, but it's beautiful, and honestly, I like it. The older I get, I'm actually happy I got 2 of the 3 Hackmaster nice stitched versions of Monster Manual and the Player's Book. If I could have, I would have bought the GM's Guide. Even if it was $60, I'd have bought it.
Right. Because
it's cool. It looks great. Right. I'm a sucker for something that looks good, but I also appreciate a good deal. I mean, no doubt about that.
Right. And but if I'm going to lay down $60, I'm going to want to play it, and I'm going to. It's not well. But if the company belongs to the woke church, I'm not buying their book. I'm definitely not going to spend $60 on it, maybe 10.
Right. Yeah, I would be inclined. Like I bought WotC stuff and not Paizo stuff because I'm just kind of out of that, but WotC stuff that since I've banned myself, but I've always bought it third party through eBay at a discount. I'm willing to buy it. I won't go buy it new, and just won't do it. But what about this? I also think old school seems to be more about the player skill than the character skill, because there's very few skills in most old school games.
Right. So definitely player cleverness.
Right.
So the skill of the player trying to figure out how they can finagle themselves into a good position, or kind of the skill of the player being able to describe or convince the DM that what they have just described is interesting enough for them to get a bonus on a roll, or to even get a roll,
or to even kind of.
I remember the word "no" being frequent.
It wasn't my table, because I was like, I don't.
Can I do that? No.
Yeah, but what about this? What about that? Shouldn't I be able to do this? And the older I get, honestly, if we went back now, I would probably be more of a pushover in a game like that, because the truth of it is, if someone said, "Look, Randy, I do rock climbing for a living. I mean, I do it all the time. That is my deal, and I know them, and they do. And I would have a much better than this chance to climb this if I have this physical ability and this many ranks of the skill. Or even if I don't have if you don't have ranks, forget ranks. That's kind of new school. Just I'm a rogue. I can climb like a madman. This particular wall is not that hard. There's tons of decent handholds, so I could do it, and it shouldn't be a roll of 15 or higher. It should be 10 or higher, and I might be swayed more now than I was back in the day.
Right.
And I think that's encouraged at the table. I think it's also encouraged, and I want to use the word skill, not just persuasion, because you have
persuasion's a skill.
Agreed. But I mean, you can have player skill in navigating a dungeon. Like, we need to shoot the rebel.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
You need to go up and put tactical stuff. You need to put your hands underneath the bed frame and reach right along one of the slats, the longer slats. So someone that's really creative and thinks about nooks and crannies and sees things and visualizes things, they can be rewarded in an old school type game, especially if you're running an old school Gygax dungeon.
Because when they investigate that bunk and that slat, if they find the third screw, twist it to the left, then they'll find the magic item. And it'll be like a hammer of thunderbolts or something like that. It won't be weenie. It'll be something interesting.
They take the third screw out of that slat and falls out and magically turns into a hammer of thunderbolts.
Right.
But you've got to think to even try that. And there's nothing about the dungeons that I recall in old school that even hint at that. I mean, it's a little weird.
It is.
And of course, there's your favorite thing, Joe.
What's that?
Fancy and magic seems to be prevalent in old school. Fancy.
Prevalent.
Is that generous?
I would say nigh exclusive.
Really?
There might be some OSR out there that doesn't have it, and I did some searching. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it came down to a Reddit thread where they were saying, I have a homebrew non-Vancian thing I use, but nothing published that I could tell.
Really?
But I haven't been delving into OSR for very long, so you never know.
Well, and if you're going to base it on 1970s D&D or pre-WotC, I mean, Vancian was the thing. It didn't change from 0 to basic to Rule Cyclopedia to 1E to 2E, though skills and powers at the end did do some messing around with stuff, but spells and powers, whatever it was, I don't remember. But
third edition was Vancian too.
Right, but I'm just saying old school, that's probably, maybe it's a sacred cow. I don't know.
Oh, I know why. It's simple, so people like it because it's simple. Straightforward.
How spell points not simple?
I don't know.
That seems simple.
Because instead of saying I have X, Y, and Z spell that I can cast, I have a pool of spell points from which to cast X, Y, and Z spells of any combination. So
one level of choice above.
I wouldn't call it more complex, unless there are a lot of other things that the spell point system has. But if it's just you have some points and you have some spells and there's nothing else to it, that wouldn't be a whole lot different from Vancian as far as level of complexity.
Right. This spell costs 1, this costs 3, this costs 5. Yeah.
But the complexity, you would require a slight bit more effort maybe at the table, because you would have to choose on the fly.
Decision points. You have more decision points.
Yeah. So
because on the fly you have to. Oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So, but you'd like to see an official old school game that doesn't use Vancian. See how it looks like. See what it looks like. You'd like to see anything without Vancian.
Sure.
Yeah, Vancian is your kind of bugaboo.
Yeah, it is. It's my kryptonite.
Something that I didn't put in the outline because, I put it together 5 minutes before the show. Another thing I think they do, just listening to the podcast with old schools, I think they mostly play low-level games.
Oh, definitely.
Almost never hear anybody everybody ooh, I got a 15th level character. Nope. Nobody else. It's usually 1st to 6th or 7th. Game over, start a new campaign.
Right. I mean,
and I've heard them say they like people. I like levels 1 to 3.
Yeah.
What are you saying with your silence, Joseph?
1 to 3. I mean, I've played levels 1 to 3 lots.
Yes, you have.
I'd like to play higher because I haven't played that lots because games peter out. I don't know what it is. I never really lose interest in a particular character of mine until the game falls apart. And then there's nothing to keep interest in a character you're never going to play. But as long as play is viable, I maintain interest in a character.
Well, and you said, too, you would love to take that character to a different campaign. What if someone would just let you take that character and finish playing him, even if it was somewhere else?
Yeah, or just continue to play. And it doesn't necessarily have to be high level, but continuing to play would be nice. And even if the advancement's slow. But most games don't get past 10th level. OSR games all seem to be 12th. The highest level I've seen them is 14. There's probably ones that are higher, but
Osric and for Golden Glory do our 1st and 2nd clones, so I'm sure they go to 20th.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it doesn't sound like anybody plays like that.
Yeah, it just seems like low level play is the thing, and I don't get that.
Well,
some people think low level's more interesting, but to me, it's kind of boring.
You know what I like about low level play is getting to know the characters, and then I want them to hurry up and get to 5th or 6th level. You know what I'm saying? Like if we start our first
that is cool.
Yes, like let's see who they are, let them kind of live a little bit when it's dangerous, and then let's get to where they're good.
Right.
So I can throw some really crazy crap at them.
Right.
But yeah, I think old school just tends to. It'd be neat to hear from anybody out there that would argue differently. I mean, I'm sure there's people that consider themselves OSR that play high level. I know I can't remember the name of the website, but I've been reading several articles from this guy. I need to send it to you. You might like it. And he talks about how he either interviewed Tim Kask. Do you know who Tim Kask is?
The name's familiar, but.
Friend of Gygax. Sure. He was one of the original old guard guys. Okay. I've seen him interviewed. He's like seems like a hoot. He'd be a really cool guy. And he made a comment that he wasn't sure when they were doing old D&D and starting to make their first edition, when the first edition was just in the planning stages, they heard from people playing really high level and like even killing gods. And while that sounds crazy, but even to him, he's like, we couldn't even imagine playing. Why would you want to play a character above 7th or 8th level? Their premise was, their mindset was like, we are already practically unstoppable. Why would you want to play higher? That was their thought. And I know you can't see this, but Joe's giving the eyebrow raise of doom. But
practically unstoppable.
Think about it, though. Think about it. Okay, pull back, Joe. So let's get rid of Joe's biases for the moment. And imagine. I
only have reality. I have no bias.
Oh, shut your pie hole. So, anyway, imagine So you created this. You were the person. You're Gygax and I'm Cask. We just created the game, and we're coming from a wargaming background. And all of a sudden, your wizard now can cast Fireball. And you guys are thinking like Napoleonic battles. This is where your experience is from, right?
Sure.
And all of a sudden, you got a wizard that can drop a couple of fireballs in the middle of the battle.
Right.
There'd be a lot of soldiers be making morale checks after one fireball.
Oh, sure.
And you would, from a perspective of someone that's somewhat grounded in reality, which their perspectives were, be like, holy balls, that dude is ridiculous. He is a godlike archmage. Whereas you and I know there's spells now that are like, Abidazim's Horror Wilting and, Wail of the Banshee and Time Stop. But that's so epic for them. Just blowing up 25 soldiers or even 10 soldiers in a fireball is insane. And I could imagine them thinking, wow, you've reached it. You're the great mage. I remember reading Hamlet and they were talking how great the wizard's name was Byrne in Hamlet. This powerful mage retired, and I looked at his stats. He was like 7th or 8th level. And I was like, wow, yeah, he's awesome. And, of course, when we look at the books, we see, well, levels 1 to 20, so 7th level's not high level. Why are you stopping?
Right, and I think that's why hit dice stop at like 9th level. It's because the conception of playing beyond 9th level was just, it was incomprehensible, but it shouldn't have been, because even at that point, you had monsters that could take that fireball and say, that's all you got? Like giants, like giants or
a demon who's immune to it.
Yeah.
Who's immune to fire.
Hello, squish the wizard. So, from the perspective from a narrow perspective, yeah. If your conception is more like Lord of the Rings type of atmosphere, throwing down a fireball, yeah, that would be ultimate, because nobody throws down fireballs in that setting. So. That would definitely be something.
Yeah.
But as far as D&D goes, it just sounds weird. And they made the game, so they know that these monsters, and you have to think about even the possible damage that you're going to do. And the fact that monsters are going to save, you're going to probably roll. It just seems weird that would be the thought process, which is probably why I'm not as attracted to OSR as the OSR people, because a lot of them think that way too.
I think they do, yeah. And again, you OSR people, if you're listening to the podcast, I invite you to give us examples to show us that we're wrong. And that could be a conceit. Maybe OSR is meant to be grittier. Life is cheap. That's another thing. Life tends to be cheap in OSR.
I remember in the old. There were discussions about how many adventures would be on a game world. And I don't know what book had it. Maybe the DMG had how many X level people would be in a given settlement. And once you got up to 20th level, there wouldn't be that many, if any. So you get to the idea that if you made it to high level, you'd be big dogs on the planet. Planet wide.
Yeah.
And
was like 1 in 100,000 wizards was an archmage, like 20th level?
Something like that. It was very low numbers, which is fine.
Yeah.
You don't need a couple thousand wizards laying down, meteor swarm. You won't have a world left for very long.
Yeah. That's kind of why the Forgotten Realms is a little hard to buy sometimes.
Sure.
You got an archmage around every corner, and so how come the world's not been scorched earth? I don't know why.
That's why I liked Greyhawk better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They had some weird. They had some folks, but not like the Forgotten Realms. It was like they were all over the place. The Harpers, is that where the Harpers were at?
Yeah, but the Harpers they were led by Kelvin Blackstaff, the original, who was actually a guy, not the new one who's a female.
Alrighty then. So yeah, There's that.
Well, and I remember the folio. I loved the folio when I first got it. I mean, that fold-up thing for Greyhawk that had the cool map in it. The map we've talked about, the Greyhawk map, the world map.
Oh, yeah.
The 2-poster map, which I still have all taped up, and now it's been laminated. But they described kind of the ruler in each land, and it was amazing how many were not teens.
Right.
I mean, I think the Circle of Eight has a member who is, I think, who's the one that's got not Tasha, but one of the wizards, Melf, was an 8th level wizard and like a 5th level fighter, and he was in the Circle of Eight, I believe. Or maybe he was just a retainer of one of the, I don't know. Some of the Circle of Eight were not archmages, though several were. The Circle of Eight were like the most powerful wizards in the world, pretty close.
Did you pay attention to Telemanticore? That's pretty much an OSR type of thing. And the wizard enemy, the bad guy in that, had an apprentice. And he's only a 3rd level wizard. He was only a 3rd level wizard and had an apprentice already. Yes.
Was he only 3rd? I thought he leveled up during the story and was 4th now.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying at the time when he was.
Yeah, his time. He had a 1st or 2nd level apprentice. Yeah, that's pretty weird. I guess the concept, and I guess with life being cheap and the idea is, and I hear a lot of OSR people think it's kind of silly to have, complex backgrounds for your 1st level character because, well, they're got a good chance of just being dead after their first adventure. And if you finally, died, your first 4 or 5 characters died, and you finally get a wizard to 5th or 6th level, you might feel like a total BA.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility too. So, but I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'm for playing characters. The idea of playing characters to the end is great. I mean, I've always said, I know you probably don't believe it, but I would love to see you or anyone else have a true archmage, someone that gets to super high level, and can really,
I did have one.
Oh yeah,
Fulcivar, but that was back in the in your he made those levels back in your Monty Hall phase. So,
but you did play a variation of him in the 7 spheres and took him to like 10th to 24 plus, whatever he was. Remember?
Yeah, I think he started out a little higher than that, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that doesn't count.
No?
I like starting at 1st level.
Okay.
And progressing up, but I don't like staying there.
Understood.
Yeah.
I do kind of, one thing I like about 5e, not to get too far into that, is I do like the idea, or even in 13th Age, they suggest you get characters through 1st and 2nd level pretty quick. That you don't make them sit at 1st or 2nd level. 13th Age says that, and 5e suggests it because their experience point chart is so small from 1st to 2nd and 3rd, but they even encourage it. And in 5e they should, because your 1st level characters suck. They're super weak. Super weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other properties come to mind or qualities come to mind when you think about the OSR? And again, let me clarify for everybody. We're just these are the things we think we see when we look at OSR stuff. It may not be the intentions, but it may be what we see. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think what else might.
So, light on the rules. Yep. Rulings are what the GM rulings are the focus, not the rules. Mm-hmm. Low level.
Yep. Fancying.
Right. Because cheap cheap products, cheap, yes.
Inexpensive products.
Right.
D&D 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah, so gritty.
Yep.
I don't know that there would be nothing that comes to mind beyond that stuff. Not that there's nothing else there. It's just as far as a overarching type of concept, those are pretty much what I see.
Yeah. I think so too. I think the idea of an adventure game, it's not about play acting, is definitely true. You build a character, go out there and hope he survives his first couple levels, and maybe he'll be somebody special. He'll be a king one day. He'll rule a land at 8th level, and you can retire him and do first level all over again.
Well, considering you only made it to 4th or 5th level anyway, and the campaign is over.
Yeah, I'm the Archmage of the land. What level are you? 4th.
4th.
Almost
it took me 10 years to get there, too.
Yeah, I wonder if speed of play is a thing. Do they slow things down? I wonder if they do it slow on purpose. Do you think they slow things on purpose? Is it slowed down?
I don't know. I don't know how long, because, we don't play in that genre. We just, I mean, it's more of an interest and less of a thing that we do. So I know they probably have actual plays out there like everybody else does, but they'd probably be just boring.
I'm trying to remember. I know the first level wizard in first edition had to get, was it 2,250 experience points or 2,500 experience points?
Something like that.
So that's a lot.
Remember. Yeah.
And the thief would be 3rd level by then. Okay. What about, we'll slide in this topic into Cabin Con, a little Cabin Con moment. OSR at Cabin Con. So this year, I'm running OD&D. I'm running White Box.
White Box.
And Mike, one of our buddies, says he's going to run Basic Expert.
Oh, wow.
He's going to run the Rules Cyclopedia Basic Expert stuff, I believe. He showed that online. If you check the Facebook, our Facebook page, he's going to do that. And Tim is kind of, he says he'd love to play some 2nd edition, so he might run that. So we're going to get a taste of old school. I don't think we've had much in the past. Have we had any real old school you can recall?
Not really. It's been 3rd edition, Star Wars, 13th Age, Savage Worlds,
Pathfinder.
For the longest, it was primarily or almost all Pathfinder.
Yeah.
For several years.
X, 3.x of some sort.
Yeah. No, I don't think we've actually had any OSR.
We talk about it a lot. So this year it's going to happen. I mean, I know I'm running Sunday an old OD&D game, and you can't get more old school than what I'm going to run. I'm running the original White Box. And from what I've been reading about it, they say the rules are pretty mysterious, meaning they assume you know things. And from what I've read, I think they're right. So I'm probably going to be making crap up as I go along. So that should be pretty fun. And, do you think our group, I think our dudes are amenable to the idea?
Probably. Especially ones that are kind of soured on Pathfinder.
Yep.
But yeah, and if you run something, people are going to play.
Oh, well, yeah. Cool.
That'd
be nice. I like that. So I'm going to run something, and it's going to be OSR. That's one of the things I'm going to run. I know you won't. It's probably going to be first level, not because I like first level, but because I want to do the real. I don't know. We'll see. Once I read it and get in there, I may say, nah, I'm going to make them higher level. We'll see how it goes. What about so that's good to know. What about our gaming world? Do you think how much OSR influence do you think could be in our game?
Well, I think that what we're going to do is that we're probably going to have some nostalgia related direction. So I think probably the best way that we might describe it is I don't know, old school influenced, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah, or maybe it'll be like Goodman Games. Was it 3rd edition rules, and it was Necromancer Games, but 3rd edition rules, 1st edition feel, the original Rapanathuk. Remember that 3rd edition? And that was their tagline, 1st edition, 3rd edition rules,
yeah, that's
1st
true.
edition feel. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know if I think of a good word for it, because to say that it's influenced, it's only influenced in the sense that we played the old games a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we have been talking a lot about things like, I've been talking a lot about Castles and Crusades. We've talked about different experience point charts. I got a feeling we're going to do something like that where it'll have bits and pieces. So it might just be influenced, maybe, probably, but I don't think it'll be an OSR game.
Probably not really, because it's not going to have fancy and magic.
No
if
way.
I have anything to say about it.
Joe, as much as I think you should love it, I think I'm resigned to the fact that it's not going to be that. In fact, honestly, I'm a spell points guy.
Yeah.
I like the simplicity. I like it in Savage Worlds. I mean, whatever version we use, I want to try spell points first, see how it goes.
We're not going to go the 3X or Pathfinder psionic points route where you get boatloads and then all kinds of ways you can jack up everything so that by the time you're 20th level, you're casting 30 or more 9th level spells.
We can't do that. I mean, I want a 20th level wizard to be total BA, but come on, he ain't got to be throwing time stop 11 times a day and meteor swarm 5 times a day.
I'll be more like 4.
4 is more than enough. Yeah. Okay, I think we've beat what we know about OSR to death. What do you think, bro?
I think that's pretty good. I just got in. I downloaded it a while back, like maybe a year or two ago, but I just started evaluating, and I think it's considered OSR. It's a different game. It's not really. Anyway, it's Warrior Rogue Mage. I was talking to you about it before we started.
Yeah.
And it's old school in feel, but it's not a retro clone of any kind.
Right.
It's you only ever roll a single D6, and then you add your modifiers. It has a set of difficulty levels for different things, and you have 3 stats. It's very simple. And it's free. The whole game. The game has like 4 or 5 extra things added to it. 4 or 5 different. It's a short book that's free, but it also has a part of a bundle of things on DriveThru RPG, like expansions, if you can call them that. So that's what's in the bundle. The game plus like 5. Either 4 or 5 expansion things, and it's all free.
Oh wow!
It's very light.
Are you just very? Yes, like a very. I think I've seen that before. That is a very light game, and you had told me before that it was really simple. But you don't generally gravitate to. Are you just exploring this? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it.
Yeah,
it's simple, but it's not. I don't think it's so simple that you can't pull off even epic games.
Well, that's not bad then.
Because it has teleportation magic in it, and of course fireballs and lightning bolts and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I haven't done anything more than Castles and Crusades as far as looking at old school stuff. I told you a while back they had the 7th edition for free or 6th edition, whatever it was, and
right.
I like the feel. I like the reading it. I enjoy the way they write. Their writing style is kind of first edition, but I'm not sure if I love it. But so, anything else you want to mention OSR-ish, or you feel like we've?
I think we beat it. Beat the horse.
Yay!
Dead.
Eat the horse.
The dead horse is dead again.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to support our show, please check out our website www.biggestgeekestpodcast.com/support. Any contributions, much appreciated. We really would thank you for that. We also would really like you to share this with your friends. Probably that's more helpful than even giving us a little pocket change. If you have any app that we are not on, you know of one, please let us know. We're pretty much available all over the place right now, Joe.
Yeah, actually, I found a new one.
Which one?
Can't remember now.
Perfect. That's the way I like it.
Well, I was looking at something called podcastindex.com, and it had a podcast app in it, and I just checked it to see if our podcast was in it, and it is. Maybe it's on my phone. It probably is.
Probably so.
Probably.
If you have any questions, you can email us at questions@biggestgeekuspodcast.com. Let me reiterate, it's not just questions. And it says that, but you can send us comments. We'd love to hear something about anybody's thoughts on OSR, whether you're like, you two guys are nuts, you ain't got any idea what it's about, or you two guys are awesome, which is more likely true. You know everything about the OSR with little or no research.
Yes, that's really...
That would be nice.
That's actually truth.
Yes, pick the truth. Did you find it? What's the name of it?
Antenna pod.
Cool. Dude, that sounds like a monster, like a cephalopod.
Right. It's not quite that. Plus, so that they also got us listed at podcast. Was it what I would just call the podcast index?
Yeah. Cool. Good deal.
Called Podcasting 2.0.
Oh, okay. We'd also like to encourage you to check out a few podcasts we like. We mentioned them today. Red Dice Diaries with John Allen Large and his wife, Hannah. Radio Grognar with Glenn Hallstrom. Thank you, Glenn, for shouting out to us. And The Tale of the Manicore. It's kind of a unique little dramatization / quasi-actual play sort of thing. So I really still like digging all three of those. There's a new episode of The Tale of the Manicore. Have you listened to it yet?
I have.
I have not, so don't spoil it. I'll cry. So anyway.
Oh, I want to make you cry.
Oh, man. Anyway.
We'll do it off air.
Off air. I'll cry off air.
Yes.
This is Randy.
And this is Joe.
And remember, can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.